It's right on the threshold, isn't it? I need to look that up. Good morning. How are you?
Good. You must have questions for me.
I do have lots of questions.
Yes. What can I answer for you?
Do you have answers?
Oh, I thought you were doing a poll.
Oh.
Of course.
Well, I have
answers to the universe. What do you want to know?
Ooh. Can we chat for 5 minutes? I'll time it.
His name is Jesus Christ.
Can we do a 5-minute interview?
What for?
I have a hobby where I'm doing something called street epistemology. And I'm going to turn this way because the garbage truck or that bus. Well, yeah. Thank you. So I'm doing this thing where I talk to a stranger. We select something that you're sure is true.
Okay.
And I start asking questions to gently challenge how you could be so sure.
You know, I don't do well with stuff like that.
Really?
I really don't.
That's fine. That's fine.
You know, I appreciate it so much, and I wish I did a better job of it. And I've asked the Lord to help me, but for some reason, I'm just not able to do that so well. I end up just getting panicky.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I certainly don't want to make you
uncomfortable. I appreciate you understanding.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable, and yet.
Because what I would want to talk about is my faith.
Sure.
That's what I would want to talk about, and I can give you examples of things I've seen and done and had the Lord do for me.
Okay.
But that would probably be the extent of what I could do to help you. I don't know if that's...
Well, what I would end up doing is patiently and very respectfully listening to your reasons, and then I'd like to shift to questioning. And I don't debate with people, honestly. I don't want to debate with you. I don't want to argue with you. This is truly to understand how a person could be so sure that something that they believe really strongly is true. And if it makes you feel any more comfortable, well, I do like to record this. I know that's going to play like, but if you want, I can just go audio only, or I can just record just our shoes. And I have another camera that I can point at me, so people at least have something to watch.
Okay, just a second. All right.
Want to give it a go?
I'll try it.
Okay.
If at any point I'm uncomfortable, can I stop?
Absolutely.
All right.
And at any point, if you, exactly. If you're uncomfortable, you just say, Anthony.
And you're doing this just for the heck of it?
I call it a hobby.
Okay.
I've been doing it for 5 years. And one of the reasons why I keep doing it is because I absolutely love it. And generally, the people that I end up talking to love it too.
Okay.
What is your first name?
Cherry, like the blossom.
Pleasure to meet you.
You're Anthony?
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
It's very nice to meet you. We generally talk about all sorts of different beliefs, but I like it when the person selects the belief. Karma comes up, ghosts.
Sure. There are lots of things out.
Sure. But we can definitely examine the God belief that you have. Have you ever asked yourself how you could be so sure that it's actually true?
Yes.
Okay.
I have. Of course, everyone does that, I think, in the beginning. You know?
When you were contemplating talking to me just now, do you mind if I ask what you were thinking, or were you asking the God right now at that point if you should do it, or
I was asking the Lord if I had His permission. Sure.
Did you receive an answer?
I did.
Okay.
And the words were, "I will guide you."
Okay. Do you really believe that that was the God conversing with you?
That is the Lord talking to me. Yes.
Okay. All right. There's not an explanation. Okay.
You can have an exclamation.
I don't know why I put that in.
I don't care. He doesn't care. He's big enough for an exclamation point.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about how you're so sure that you're conversing with a God and that a God even exists?
Because of what He has done in my life, because of what I've seen, and because of what He has done through me.
Okay. Do you have a really vivid example? Maybe your best example that you would...
I have a lot, but I'll tell you one.
Okay.
Or I can tell you two. I'll tell you two.
These examples go on for a while, skip ahead to the 12-minute and 30-second mark if you don't want to hear all of her reasons. Sure, please.
And this is, now I became a Christian in 1976. Mm-hmm. That's a long time ago. Mm. Okay? So, and I was 47 to 76, whatever that is, 29 years old, 28, I don't know, anyway, whatever the math is. Okay. You can do it in your head. You're a guy. I'm so right-brained. I'm an artist. I'm very right-brained. So I don't think in terms of numbers. But two different examples. Number one, I went on a mission trip to Mozambique with a company or a mission field called IRIS. And I have supported IRIS for years. And if you want to do some fascinating reading, look up Heidi Baker in IRIS Ministries. Okay. Knock your socks off. Okay. But anyway, so as I was having lunch one time with Heidi and it told her I'd always wanted to do a mission trip, she said, well, you should come to Pimba. And then when she found out I was an artist, she said, you can teach art to the orphans in our school. So I did all of that. Okay. And I can't tell you all the encounters that I had with people that cemented my faith. But for people that don't believe in God and don't believe in Jesus, when the Lord was on earth, Anthony, he did a lot of miracles, a lot of healings, a lot of raising from the dead, because that was something that people could see with their eyes, and they would believe, and then they would believe that he was who he said he was. Well, whether you are aware of it or not, that goes on today all the time. Not miracles? So much in the United States. Miracles. And I'm about to tell you one that I was personally involved with. Please. We went out into the bush and went to a village where most of the villagers were not Christian. Okay. And after Heidi preached the gospel to them, and we loved on them, is the best way to say it. After we loved on them, the next morning we had a church service and people came to that, and then from there we went out with an interpreter that spoke Maputo, and we went to different places in the village. It was a fairly large village, not large by United States standards, but fairly large, and we would walk along and ask people if we could pray for them. And some of them would say yes. Very few of them said no, although the dominant religion in the village was Muslim. Okay. Just so you know. So there's this blind woman there, and so our interpreter asked if we could pray for her, and she said, oh yes. And so we gathered around her, laid our hands on her, and prayed over her. And the Lord blessed her with her sight. This woman got her sight back after you praying for her? This woman got her sight back. Not only that, she had her little grandchild run and get her friend who was older than she was and blind, and had her come and sit on the mats, and we laid our hands on her and prayed for her, and the Lord healed her too, and they could both see. You could see their eyes going from cloudy to clear. And did you witness this firsthand? I was there. I was right here. Okay, so yes, I witnessed it firsthand. Okay. The week before, a group of high school students had gone out in the bush, and there was a child who had died, and the mother was so distraught, and these teenagers went and sat down with this child, and everybody in the village is moaning and crying and ripping their clothes because they put their hands on this baby and prayed for this child for 45 minutes, and it came back to life. Now, I know that sounds wild to you. You observed this as well? No, this I did not observe. This was the week before. I got you. But things like this happen all the time, and they happen a lot in countries where people don't have, where people's faith is a little bit more pure than we are here. In the United States, we have so many influences on us. Oh, that can't be. Oh, this. Oh, medical science. Oh, that. When you get a group of people that don't have anything but God, then they relate to God in a different way. But I have, then I'll give you another example. I had really bad arthritis in my hands, all right? And I was familiar with what they call healing ministries because my daughter had suffered from various illnesses and had been involved in healing ministry and had a lot of healing from it. So I had really bad arthritis in my hands, and I wanted to find a church that had a healing ministry. And I was living in Austin at the time. So I looked it up, and I went to this church, and what happens when you have a healing ministry, when a church has a healing ministry, is you walk in, you sit down, you fill out a paper as to what you want to be, what you're there for, and then you wait, and then they will call you in, and a group of people will pray over you. Okay, when I had arthritis so badly that I was taking up to 6 Advil a day for my thumbs. Okay, so I didn't go there to be healed. In fact, when I sat down, I thought, Lord, what am I going to do? I don't have anything I need to be healed for. I just want to see what this healing ministry is about and see if this is a church I want to call a church home. So then immediately my thumb started hurting. So I thought, aha, I'm going to write down arthritis.
Gotcha.
So I did, and I sat there, and my thumbs were hurting while they prayed over me, and they prayed over me, and they told me that the Lord had healed me, and that if my thumbs began to hurt anymore, that I should claim my healing. That's a word in healing circles that sounds kind of woo-woo, but it's admitting that you have been healed, okay? Because I believe...
so just so I understand, you were instructed to claim
my healing.
Claim your healing after you started recognizing that your arthritis was going away in your thumbs?
No, right afterwards. They said, now, how do they feel? And they did feel better. And they said, if they start to hurt, claim your healing, all right?
Okay.
So as I walked out of there, I thought, well, they do feel a little bit better. And over a period of about 3 days, I had no arthritis in my thumbs at all and have not had since. Now, that's a personal experience.
Okay, that's a good one.
Third and last one, I'm from Rockport, Texas. And Harvey came and sat over my house and destroyed it. Okay?
Sorry to hear that.
Oh, that's all right. God built it once, he'll do it again. And I'm a lot luckier than a lot of people. So many people down there have nothing. No home, no money, no place to go. So I'm really blessed. But I found out I had to move out 3 days after Harvey, okay? And that was on a Friday. And so I got a moving company on Friday afternoon. On Saturday morning, the head of Iris, he's the head of the mission trips for Iris Ministries. Iris Ministries is all over the world.
It's called Iris, like the
Iris,
I?
I-R-I-S. Yeah.
Okay.
Another book you need to read, I think, is called Behind the Veil. Read that.
Well, what I'm really interested in is how, and thank you so much for sharing these examples. I'm really interested in how you're determining that it was your God that was responsible for it.
Because I believe, all right, that there are only two forces in the world, good and evil. God is love, and he is all good. Okay, so everything that happens to me is from the Lord, and he speaks to me.
Everything that's good that happens to you?
Good that happens to me,
okay.
is from the Lord. And I'll give you one more example.
If you don't mind, I think I got plenty. But let's say, let's say you're heading home in your car, and you were to get in an accident. Would you consider that a bad thing?
Well, I wouldn't consider it a good thing, because in the world that God created, there was no evil. Okay? And car wrecks are not good. Can you say that a car wreck is good? Would you say a car wreck is good?
If I met my future wife, maybe. Like that might be.
That might be a good result from the wreck, right?
Right.
But not the wreck.
So when something bad were to happen to you, you wouldn't say that was the God that had anything to do with it. It's
God can't. He cannot send bad things. When people say, oh, God gave me cancer so I could learn this, this, and this. No. Jesus says that he came to heal all of our diseases and forgive sins, to heal everything, to make everything good.
Okay, so if I'm understanding correctly, when you observe or experience good things, you say that that's the God that did it. And yet if you were to experience a bad thing, you wouldn't say that God had anything to do with it.
No, he can't. It's not in his character. It's not in his character.
You say that it's the God, but how do you actually know that it is? Just because it's a good thing?
Because I just know in my heart. Because he has spoken to me in my heart. And because I believe it, and I know it I know it for a fact. I believe the Bible is the inspired word of God. So when I read the Bible, there are life lessons in there for me. Now, a lot of people don't feel that way, but look at what the Bible's been through the last 2,000 years, and nobody's been able to destroy it.
So because the Bible has been around for a long time and it's withstood the test of time, it's more likely to be a source of truth?
Well, not only because of that, but because of the archaeological discoveries that they are finding that back it up, and the writings of the time, not associated with Christianity, but back up what it says.
Okay, that's interesting. Because there are other books and historical references to things that are happening in the Bible, it's more likely that the things that are in the Bible are true.
Well, if they confirm it, I would say yeah. Absolutely. If somebody who lived at the same time that certain events were going on confirmed the events that are written in the Bible, then I would say that's a pretty good reference. Yeah.
Are you willing to use that same criteria for every type of holy text other than the Bible? For example, I'm thinking like the Quran might have references and other historical references back it up, or the Bhagavad Gita.
I think you have to compare them. You know, I think you have to compare them. And in my opinion, you know, what little I have done, and I haven't done a lot, but what little I have done, they don't hold up as true.
Do you think somebody who really read the Quran and observed good things happening in their life would be chalking it up to a completely different God and be just as sure that it's true?
Probably so. Probably so. We are given and can be judged only by the experiences that we have. So if you haven't had experiences, you can't, you know, you can't know them, you can't judge them, which is why Christians want everybody to know about Jesus. Yeah. I think it's difficult when you have a book like the Quran that doesn't have the good of mankind at heart. Is that a right way to say it?
Do you think a Muslim who has accepted that book, though, as a source of truth would be able to find the good in that book?
Well, they might. Well, now when Muhammad was, when Muhammad originally started, he was a very peaceful, loving man. All right, his writings were very universally peaceful and loving, and over time they became more militant. More writings about how he wanted the whole world to practice his religion, and if they didn't, then they would either be killed or whatever. So it became more violent. So I think if a person studies the Quran from beginning to end, I don't know how someone can say that their God is loving if he wants to kill everybody that doesn't accept their law.
I guess what I'm trying to understand, maybe at a more fundamental level, is if a person were to have read that book and believes that that book is speaking to them, to their heart, and they see that as a source of truth, and then when they observe good things, well, it's just confirmation that it's their God that's doing it.
Well, that is probably correct. I mean, how would they know anything else? How would they know anything else? Do I believe that it's correct? No, I don't. Do I believe that they're exposed to Christianity, that they will continue to not see the fallacy in their religion? No, I do not. There are many, 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 many Muslims who have become Christians.
You know, I'm wondering, how do you think a Muslim who has really read the book and bought into it, and they see the good things that are happening, and the book is speaking to them, and they think it's a source of truth, what do you think that person would say to an individual who is believing in a completely different book and a completely different God?
What would they say according to the Quran?
No. What do you think that they would say about other people who believe in completely different gods other than theirs?
They need to believe in theirs or they'll be killed. I mean, it's plain as day.
They would want you to believe in their God.
Believe in their God or be killed. Am I going to kill somebody if they don't believe in Christianity? No, I'm going to love them to death. I'm going to love them radically.
Are you saying that your belief is more believable because it has a good message?
I don't know if it's more believable, but it is the message that I am to share. Is it believable to somebody who wants world domination? I'm not saying that all Muslims are that way, because they're not. There are a good many Muslims that are really good people that don't really know what the Quran says, that haven't studied the later writings. Okay, but if you read what it says and you study what it says, you can't have any other option. There have been many Muslims, and I've known several who said, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, when they figure out what it really says.
Yeah, I'm not so much interested in the content of these books as I am in how people are so sure that they're true.
Okay, it's called faith. Mm-hmm. Can you see the air? No, you can't see the air. We know it's there.
Could we demonstrate the air in some way?
Could you demonstrate the air? Mm-hmm. You demonstrate it by breathing it and staying alive, and that's what my faith does for me.
Can we demonstrate what you mean by faith? Can we demonstrate how faith is relevant to this, to coming to believe that it's true?
I'm not understanding the question.
Yeah, it's a little confusing. So, you mentioned faith.
Faith is believing in things that you can't see and you can't feel and you can't touch, but knowing that they are true.
Believing in something that you can't see, feel, or touch, but knowing that they're true?
Mm-hmm. It's believing. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's certainly not a biblical definition, and it's not a dictionary definition.
Is it your definition?
It's my definition.
Okay, we can roll with that. If you didn't have faith to be confident that your book is true and these experiences that you had were actually your God, where would that move you in terms of your certainty if you didn't have faith at your disposal?
Well, that question can't even be asked, because the only way that you can come to God is through faith. You can't come to Him any other way. I can't come to Him through good works. I can be the best person on earth, but that's not what Christianity is about. It is faith in what Jesus Christ did for me on the cross. That gives me access to God.
If you didn't have faith at your disposal, I think what you're saying is that a person wouldn't be able to say that they knew God without faith.
You know, people can say anything, but if a person believes in the Lord, then he has faith. I mean, it just goes together.
If I just believe in the Lord, then I have faith to know that He's real?
If you truly believe, if you're just saying it, no. But if that is what you truly believe, then He will give you. The Holy Spirit will give you what you need, the faith that you need.
What I think you're saying, and if this is not what you're saying, Cherry, please let me know.
I will.
But what it sounds like you're saying is that a person can use faith and truly believe, if they truly believe in something using faith.
Well, no, you don't use faith. Faith is a result of your belief. It's kind of the other way around. I believe in God. I know that He exists. That gives me faith in Him.
I thought we were saying that somebody would have to have faith in order to believe in the God, that it was a requirement.
Well, we may have said that.
But it sounds like you're saying
you said that, and I probably agreed. But basically, when you go on a search, or when you have a searching heart, or you want to know God, and you find Him, faith is a result of that.
Faith is the outcome once you believe in the God.
Well, that's the way it is for me. I always knew that God existed. I went to church. I did all that stuff. But it wasn't until I just was flooded with His presence that my faith became a vital part of my everyday.
Okay, maybe this is the last question. I don't want to hold you up too long.
That's okay. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to ask you a question.
Sure. So it sounds like what you're saying is that one believes in the God first, and then they have this gift of faith or something.
Faith is, it is what happens. It is just a natural outgrowth of believing and worshiping a God. I think
a person doesn't use faith first to come to the belief? They're actually getting it later?
I think they can, but if a person has never, okay, let's think about this. If you were one of these villagers, that in Maputo that never heard of God, and then you hear of God, then your faith would grow. You couldn't have faith in a God you never heard of, could you?
That's a good question. I'm wondering if somebody could use faith and believe in something that they can't see and just truly believe that Allah is real. Could a person use faith to conclude that a different God than yours is real?
Anybody could use faith for anything. Faith is not limited to the Christian religion. People have faith in materialism. They have faith in, possessions. They have faith in anything.
Why would anyone want to use faith if it could lead them to any conclusion?
I don't think people consciously think they're using faith. I don't think people think, I'm going to have faith in this. But it's whatever you put your value on. Whatever you believe and whatever you put your value on. For me. Now, you remember, you're talking to an artist. He doesn't use words or numbers real well.
I think you're doing a fabulous job. One last question, then you can ask me anything you want. Is it at all possible that a person such as yourself, who's had these experiences and believes in this book and believes in this God, and faith is a component to this, is it at all possible in the slightest manner that the faith that you're using has led you to the incorrect conclusion?
Nope. That's how sure I am, Andrew. No, it's not possible. Too many experiences, too many words, too many happenings, too many people in my life that God has put there for a reason.
Can I ask one little follow-up?
Yeah.
Okay.
One is more than one to you, isn't it?
I guess so. I have a horrible habit of asking more questions.
I don't care.
My hands are you're very warm.
I have a warm heart.
I'll take it.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, you got it? Okay.
I may not get up,
Thank
but
you.
I got down.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Wouldn't a person who's using faith and arrived at a completely different God tell me that they are just as certain and that their belief is warming their hearts?
I would think so, but again, using faith that kind of bothers me. That phrase, using faith.
Okay.
Has faith that what they believe is as real as what I believe. Probably they would. And, again, that's why I told you, when you have something and it's so wonderful and it's so good and it makes your life so easy, you want other people to have it. You want everybody you know to have what you have. Do other religions feel that way? Maybe they do. Maybe they do. So I don't know many, I can't say that. No, I don't know. I mean, maybe they do.
Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Now,
that was lovely.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, please.
May I pray for you?
Do you think you would get some benefit from it, or?
Might, yeah.
How do you? I'm kind of curious. Just to be completely polite with you, I'm more interested in how you think that the prayer would actually. How you could tell that the prayer actually worked.
It's not up to me for it to work. That's not my responsibility.
Okay.
That's God's.
You got a little bit right there. So if it's all the same, I think maybe I'll just pass on that.
All right.
But feel free to do that on, afterwards.
I'm going to pray for you and I'm walking away from here, Andrew.
Anthony.
Anthony.
That's okay, that's okay.
I'm going to pray Lord just knocks your socks off of him. Because he loves you.
And how would one be able to tell, how would I be able to tell that your prayer affected me?
How do we know anything? How do you know anything? If I pray for you and it moves your heart, you'll know. You'll just know.
Would I have to employ faith in order to know that your prayer was influencing me?
You would have to employ whatever the Lord decided that you needed. It's not up to me. Whatever he decided that you needed, that's what he'd give you.
Well, I can tell that this belief is important to you and that you believe it, and I appreciate the sentiment of wanting to pray for me.
No problem.
You know what I'm wondering, though, is I'm kind of wondering if the next person I interview happens to be a Muslim, and we have a similar conversation, and they even mention faith, for example. And then at the end, they ask if they could say a prayer to Allah for me. It would really be interesting, because now I would really be in a quandary to figure out, Now, was that Cherry or was that Abdul's prayer that helped me there?
Well, you know what? God answers all those kinds of questions for us. And he loves it when we question him. He's not afraid, and he's big enough to answer the questions. So you just ask him, he'll tell you.
Do you ever question?
Question God?
Question the belief that you have about the God?
Not anymore. In the beginning, I think we do, because we're learning, and we're trying to become what we love. I mean, you know, You don't
question it at all? You're so convinced at this point that it's true that you don't even question it?
There have been so many things in my life. I mean, I know believable, honest people who've seen the dead rise. I've seen people with cancer free. God is a healing, loving, positive force.
Thank you for your time.
God bless you.
I really enjoyed it. Did I give you one of my cards?
No.
It just says, it's got my email on it.
Okay.
And how did you feel about the talk?
It was good. You were very, okay, but it doesn't have your name on it.
Let me write it on the back.
Yeah, just, how can I pray for somebody when I don't know their whole name?
Do you need the name?
No.
Does it make it more effective?
No, not at all. But I just want to remember you.
Anthony.
Because I don't think anything just happens. I think you are a little divine appointment for me today.
Do you know, it's interesting. I'm going to release a video where the guy actually wanted his face to be. If you email me, I'll send you the link to my channel.
Okay.
And it's a talk with a guy who thinks that everything happens for a reason. But he doesn't mention a higher power. I think he just thinks that it's the universe that's doing it.
And that's how a lot of people feel. Yeah.
Well,
God bless you, and you have a blessed day.
Thanks, Cherry.
Bye.
Bye. Well, that slight concession at the end that maybe people of other religions feel the same way may have been the best that I could have hoped for with somebody that dug in. You know, it really saddens me to see people who have reached a point where they have stopped questioning their deeply held beliefs. I realize that her explanation of those experiences ran a little long. I'll add some wording so that people can skip past that section if they want. But if you recall, I did assure her that I would listen to those, although I had to eventually cap it, saying something like, I think we have enough examples now. I'll also have to remember this conversation the next time I hear an apologist warn others not to participate in street epistemology. I mean, according to this individual, Jesus approved. They're going to get twisted into fits about that one. You may have also noticed that I chose a Muslim for the outsider test for faith because that was the dominant religion of the village that she went to. This goes to show how important it is to listen intently to your interlocutor. Sadly, she just brushed off Islam because she didn't like its message. She didn't want to seem to grasp the point that these people think that their claim is true, just like she thinks that her claim is true. And yet, she was so enamored with her own religion's message that she seemed to miss the point, intentionally or otherwise. The big thing that stands out to me, however, was when she said something like, the only way that you can come to God is through faith, which suggested to me that one needs to have faith before they can be confident that a God exists. And then Cherry backed off on that and placed faith after the belief is formed. This point should not be lost. I mean, let's think about this. If you're forming the belief first, possibly without evidence, and then slapping on faith to what? Maintain the belief? That might be even worse than using it to form the belief in the first place. I mean, she switched it. She does a freaking 180. Before it was required to believe. Then faith is something that you get after you believe. Now, perhaps she was confused, but she struck me as a sharp lady, and it's possible that she detected the liability that faith has and then shifted things around to avoid the disconnect. This, my friends, is how you can defeat street epistemology, and I speak to this a little bit in my talk to Chicago Atheist Society. I'll include a link. If you're going to play word games and move things around to prevent it from examination, then we're not going to make a lot of progress. In short, if you cannot be honest with yourself and your facilitator, you will be able to circumvent the effectiveness of SE. So to all the believers who are listening to this, ask yourself, how could you live with that? How could you be so tied to a belief that you would jump through hoops to avoid honestly examining the epistemology? If your belief was really true, shouldn't you be honestly open to examining that belief? The talk concluded with Cherry asking if she could pray for me, and I declined her request as politely as I could. I've learned early on that it's a good idea to not participate in things like that, particularly if it's not clear if their belief is true. While I'm not sure if this conversation will have a lasting impact with her, perhaps she'll share this conversation with other people in her circle, and it could gain some traction.